And welcome, QS2 Associates. I want to thank you for attending the presentation tonight. This is our Quantum Quick Start, where it's our forward focus for the week, where we make sure that we get a jump start on the week ahead and get a jump start on our competition. Right now, folks, we want to quickly highlight what we do each and every week with our success schedule. The success schedule focuses on the calendar throughout this week, and our calendar always begins on Sunday night. So we start with our Quantum Quick Start, and that's always 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, like tonight. And then we move into Monday. Monday, we have our leadership webinar. Leadership webinar is also always the same time as well, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. But also, don't want to skip over our Quantum Connection Live radio show. That's each weekday morning, starting at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. That is the way to get your day started and get moving and get everything planned out for the day. And that's, we have always great recognition, motivation, all the top leaders, and it's a great show to attend to get your business very, very focused. So that is during the weekday in the morning. Now, we also feature our BOPs 3 nights a week, or three times a week, I should say. Two nights will be Tuesday and Thursday nights. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time, so you can get those links in your back office and send them out to those that you want to attend the BOPs. Those are our national BOPs, again, 2 nights during the week, and our third one is Saturday mornings. Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time. So those are the 3 nights and 2 nights, 1 day during the week that you can do the national BOPs. Then we're going to hit our product training on Wednesdays. Product training can be all kinds of things that are going to help you grow your business, from the insurance products to the licensed and non-licensed products that we offer, and also we'll feature other types of trainings to, again, help you grow your business, but focus on making sure you make attend Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time, and that is our product training day. That really focuses us for the entire week, and then, of course, we circle around with Sunday all over again with the Quantum Quick Start. So that's pretty much it, folks. We want to make sure you tie into our success schedule each and every week. And tonight we kick it off with another great presentation, How to Understand the Money Game. And to launch into these concepts is none other than our CEO, Dan Ahmed. Dan, welcome to the program tonight.
Thank you, Randy. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Tonight we'll do some concept training. I think it's very important as far as financial literacy, feeling comfortable with money, feeling comfortable with financial concepts. Not necessarily products, but the concepts. And if you can understand concepts, I think then you can teach concepts. And if you're able to convey powerful financial concepts to your teammates, to the prospects, to the consumers that you're in front of, you're going to be very valuable to them, and then they will definitely consider joining your team and obtaining their financial products from you and your team. So it makes it very important to understand concepts, and it's all based on how do we find ways, of course, help people make more money, protect their families, and safeguard their assets. We have our disclosure, and the disclosure, states that if someone joins QS2, they're going to spend a little bit of money. There's no guarantee they're going to succeed, but they're going to have all the tools, the training, the mentorship, and the world-class products that will give them the best chance that they can succeed. We're going to start with the theory of decreasing responsibility, and this is something that's been around for years, decades in all actuality, and it really talks about when you're young what you should worry about, and when you're older what you should worry about as far as finances. And we call this education, emergency wealth accumulation, and tax advantages. And the theory of decreasing responsibility looks like this. I always like to look at it as how life really works, and life goes fast. And all of us that are on this call know that life goes fast, and it gets faster and faster as each year goes by. Well, at age 25, when you have a young family, really one of the big risks is dying too soon. Because if you die too soon, you haven't fulfilled your legacy, you haven't fulfilled your plans, and there's a great chance you're going to leave your family, in a spot that they weren't prepared for you to be gone. So dying too soon can be one of the biggest risks. At age 65, you're retired, kids are gone, and now the issue becomes living too long. So you can imagine from age 25 to 65, and that time period goes really quick, you shift from really worrying about dying too soon to worrying about living too long. So when you're young, you're really worried about that family protection mode, and you probably need, it's not may, but probably need a lot of coverage at the beginning, because at age 25 you probably haven't accumulated a lot of assets. You probably haven't accumulated a lot of pension. If anything happens to you, your family probably isn't protected unless you do something about it. But as you get older, then there's a great chance you may not need as much coverage as far as family protection life insurance coverage. You might need estate planning, but as far as family protection, probably not as much. Well, then you look at as far as savings and assets. And when you're young, you probably don't have much money saved. You don't have a lot of assets. But as you get older, you better have the money, because if you're 65 and don't have the assets, you're not going to be able to retire. You won't be able to live the golden years like you'd planned. So we have to make sure that we understand that concept, that when we're young, we probably need to make sure we have a lot of protection for the family because we don't have a lot of assets. And as we get older, we might not need as much of that protection. And when we're young, we need to start saving so that when we do get a little older, we will have assets that will last us through our retirement years. So right now, if you're age 25, 30, 35, 40, really loss of income and to die too soon would be devastating, because the children are young, we have high debts, most likely home mortgage, all the things that really require a lot of life insurance to pay these items off. At age 65, retirement now, we need retirement income. Children are grown, we have lower debts hopefully, and hopefully the home is paid off or paid down. All those things then show that that extra asset base, that extra income then can be used for the things we want for those golden years. So that's the theory of decreasing responsibility. Now I'd like to talk about renting your wealth. And renting your wealth is important because a lot of people will not accumulate the wealth that they wanted to, or that they planned to, or that they once had, for that matter. And we need to show how inexpensive renting wealth can be. Owning wealth, that's very expensive, because you got to do a lot of hard work for it. You got to do everything you can to protect it. And in some cases, you don't protect it well enough, where you lose some of the assets. But renting your wealth guarantees that there'll be a certain amount of money for your beneficiaries. And I like to look at maximum effect with minimum effort. So most people right now, I think they truly feel they do need and want to protect their family in case they have a premature death. At the same time, most people want to do this with a minimum cost. And a lot of people also have thought in the past that if they have enough assets the family could use for their lifestyle, you could be self-insured. But the problem is, we found today, especially what's gone on for the last 10 years with the markets, most people don't have enough assets to sustain their family if they would pass away. So for people who don't have enough assets to protect their family, they don't have enough money in the bank, they don't have enough money in stocks or real estate or a business, life insurance is nothing but a substitute form of wealth. And basically, life insurance allows you to rent your wealth for your family. And think about that. If you can rent your wealth for your family, so that means even if you don't accumulate the assets you planned, or if you don't have them, your family's still going to be protected in case you pass away. It's an awesome way to do it, because we all know that renting is a lot cheaper than owning. Let's look at an example. Let's look at a male age 45, let's say standard health, $1 million policy for family protection, just a generic type of plan. And we're going to look at an equivalent taxable return based on an assumed combined federal and state 30% tax bracket. So let's say year one, the individual pays $3,000 in premiums. And if he dies or she dies that year, $1 million is paid out to the beneficiaries. That's the equivalent of a 47,619% taxable rate of return, because you paid in $3,000. At the end of the year, they gave you $1 million. If you look at then in year 5, you paid $3,000 for 5 years. You paid $15,000 in. If you pass away and $1 million is paid out to your beneficiaries, that equates to a 301% equivalent taxable rate of return compounded for those 5 years. If you go down to 20 years, you've paid $3,000 times 20 years, $60,000 in. Your beneficiaries get $1 million. That's an equivalent 34% annual compounded taxable equivalent rate of return for every single year. And 30 years down the road, ends up being a 19% equivalent tax return. Here is the summary. That makes it very simple. It shows now your age, in this case male, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, annual premium, shows total premiums paid in, shows the death benefit that will be paid out in the first year, in the 5th year, in the 10th, in the 15th, in the 20th, in the 25th, and the 30th, and then it shows the taxable equivalent rate of return. So think about it. Where can anybody get anything close to this as far as protection? In the 20th year, we've paid in $3,000 times 20 years. We paid in $60,000 in total premiums. If we die, our beneficiaries get $1 million. and that's a 34% annual compounded rate of return on those assets that we use to purchase that life insurance or renting that wealth. Even if you live till 75, you have 30 years. 30 years times 30 or times 3, we have 90,000 of premiums. We have $1 million of death benefit. That's a 19% annual compounded tax equivalent rate of return. It's impossible to get these types of returns almost anywhere else. That's why a lot of people talk about the benefits, the power of life insurance, and it comes down to leveraging, total leverage, the power of leverage, and at the same time then renting your wealth. How about a male age 71 and a female age 70? A lot of people say, oh, these people are too old. You can't make life insurance work for them. Yes, we can. We have $1 million policy, and they really want to make sure their family, they have 2 kids, is this $1 million is passed on to the kids, $500,000 each. They don't know how to do it at the least cost. So in this case, we're showing a second to die or survivorship policy. The male might not have perfect health. Maybe the female has good health or vice versa. If they pay in $15,000 the first year and they both pass away, $1 million is paid to the beneficiaries, which is a 9,571% annual rate of return if that money is paid at the end of the year. If they pay $15,000 in for 10 years, they paid in $150,000. $1 million is paid to the beneficiaries when he's 80, she's 79, and that would be in a taxable equivalent annual compounded rate of return of 54%. So again, leveraging wealth. This shows now what happens in year 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. Starting in year 1, he's 71, she's 70. In year 10, he's 81, she's 90. In year 15, that's probably their life expectancy. So in year 15, he's 86, she's 85. They paid in $15,000 a year. They paid in $225,000 total. Now, do they mind paying in $225,000 if the beneficiaries are guaranteed to get $1 million if they die in that 15th year, which is an equivalent taxable rate of return of 27% compounded per year? Let's say they live a long life. Let's say they live till 96 and 95, way past their life expectancy. They pay in $15,000 a year, 25 years. They pay in $375,000. If they die, the beneficiaries are guaranteed to get $1 million in that 25th year, which is the equivalent taxable rate of return of 10% per year compounded on that money that they put into their premiums for that 25-year time period. They can't get that anywhere. Even if they live to 101 and 100, it's a 7% taxable equivalent rate of return. They can't get that anywhere. They paid in $450,000. The beneficiaries are guaranteed to get $1 million as long as they pay the premiums. So again, that's the power leverage, and that's increasing someone's wealth with life insurance and renting that wealth. Let's look at avoiding losses at all costs. I love this little section. I always believe defense is the best weapon. And when it comes to designing someone's investment portfolio, retirement portfolio, a lot of people right now have focused on rates of return first and risk management second. And what we've seen is we don't believe that's worked out too well, as many people have lost a lot of money. You have to ask yourself and ask the people you're working with, have you lost money? And you also know people who have. We think helping people make more money, protect their assets, and safeguard their assets is the most important thing. So our philosophy is to avoid losses while obtaining what we consider reasonable and competitive return rates. How would you like a 94.5% gain? Every single person in here would. So if you could grow from 6,547 to 12,736, which is what the Dow Jones Industrial Average did between March 9, 2009 and July 10th, 2012, you would have a 94.5% gain. But at the same time, before that gain, you would have went down from 14,164 to 6,547, which was a 53.8% loss. Now, if you can imagine, you had a 53.8% loss, and then you had a 94.5% gain. You think you're back to even, but you really aren't back to even because the loss occurred before the big gain. So in this case, our number one priority is trying to avoid losses. Let's look at what this really means. If you had a 20% loss, what do you need to earn to simply break even? Well, most people think you lose 20%, you got to get 20% to break even. It's not true, because if you have a $100,000 portfolio, you lose 20%, 20,000, your portfolio is down to 80,000. If that 80,000 portfolio earns 20%, that's $16,000. 20% of 80,000 is 16,000. Your portfolio is back up to 96,000. You're not fully recovered. So your portfolio of 80,000 has to earn a 25% rate of return after a 20% loss just to get back up to even. So if you lose 20, you have to earn 25 just to get back up to even, not to make any extra money, just even. Here's how it looks graphically. You have $1 million, $100,000, you lose 20%, the portfolio goes down to 80,000. That 80,000 portfolio earns 20%, and that means your portfolio is worth 96,000, which means you still have a loss after gaining 20%. That initial portfolio down 20% has to go up by 25%. 80,000 with a 25% gain goes back up to 100,000. Now we have no loss after 25% gain. So you have to understand the concept that whatever the loss is, you have to earn more than that loss, earn considerably more than that loss to be at a break even. Not to earn any more money, just at a break even. How about a 50% loss? A lot of people have had 50% loss in their assets, and then it's followed by a 50% gain. You lose 50%, 100,000 goes down to 50,000. 50,000 with a 50% gain only goes up to 75,000 because 50% of 50,000 is 25,000. So your portfolio ends at 75,000. Your $50,000 after a 50% loss has to earn 100% of a recovery gain just to be equal to your original principal balance of 100,000. That's why a lot of people have not recovered the assets that they've lost. In this case, we would be fully recovered after a 100% gain. Here's how it looks graphically. 100,000. Lose 50%, goes down to 50,000. If you gain 50%, that portfolio grows to 75,000. You still have a big loss even after a 50% loss and a 50% gain. Your 50% loss down to 50,000 has to be followed by a 100% gain from that point back up to get the portfolio to 100,000, and then we have no loss after that 100% gain. So we have to have a double gain in this case just to break even. That's why we want to say we want to avoid losses at all costs. How about our two-circle presentation? I know Randy Krug likes this one a lot. It was his idea to do this concept presentation, and I agree this was a great idea. We're going to show you what you do when you get in front of someone that has assets, and you help them decide what level of risk are they willing to take. Very, very simple. So the goal is to balance risk and safety, risk and return. You want to make sure that we have some type of balance there. We found investors truly don't understand the amount of risk they have in their portfolios. Big losses over the last 10 plus years we know have caused many people to try and reevaluate their assets and where they should put them. Financial advisors typically will tell their clients to diversify. You might say allocate assets, and the worst one really is stay in it for the long term, and that really hasn't worked out that well for most people. So we believe investors must be given a clear view of where their current assets are, and then to be able to make decisions on how the portfolio should be invested. Let's take a look. We call this the two-circle yellow pad presentation, and it definitely promotes client interaction. So you take out your yellow pad, that's simple. Take out your yellow pad, turn it sideways, and then you also give your client a yellow pad. So you have a yellow pad, they have a yellow pad. And you ask your client to follow your instructions. So you'll say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Client, draw a circle on the left and draw a circle on the right on their yellow pad. Very simple. And the good thing is you're going to be interacting with them. You're not going to be telling them what to do. You're not going to be telling them what you think they should do. You're not going to be trying to sell them anything. You're just going to be interacting. So you let them draw their own circles. And then you say, under the left, at the top of the left box, write risk dollars, and the top of the right circle, write safe dollars. And you let them do that. Now you say, now below that, what I want you to do is write the percent of desired amount of money of your portfolio you want at risk, and the percent of the desired amount of your portfolio you want at safe. And that's important because you're not going to be asking them how much money they have in the portfolios. You're going to say, what percent of your total assets do you want risky, and what percent do you want safe? And typically how I ask it is, what amount do you want subject to market volatility and losses, and what percent do you want not subject to market volatilities and not subject to losses? So in this case, let's say an average person is going to say between 0 and 20% in risk and 100 to 80% in safe. It's a very, very typical answer. And you say, okay, great. You don't make any comments. Okay, great. Thanks for doing that. Now what I'd like you to do, Mr. and Mrs. Client, is to draw some lines in your safe circle and your risk circle. And I'd like you to list in the risk side all the different kinds of assets you think are risky. And they'll start listing things. They might say stocks. They might say mutual funds. They might not even say bond funds. I think those are safe, but you need to tell them bond funds aren't safe as far as principal protection. Variable annuities, if they don't say that, you can write it in. Investment real estate, commodities, broker accounts, everything. We can just list them out. And you can help them with this process so they can't think of very many. So make sure you have your filled out form so you can say, okay, list this, this, and this if they don't have it. Then on the safe side, they'll probably put CDs, money markets, bank accounts, government bonds, fixed annuities. They might not say fixed annuities, so you tell them to put that, indexed annuities, income annuities, cash value life insurance, and the secondary market annuity. You can put all those things because those are going to be considered more safe when it comes to the principal. Now you ask them, with your current portfolio, how it's allocated, not the amounts, but with the current portfolios, list the percentages of what you have in each one of those individual risk assets and the percentages of what you have in each one of those safe assets. And they'll list them out. You say, okay, great, that's good. 50% stock, 50% mutual funds, 50% bond funds. Remember, this could include their 401ks and 403bs, all those things. 10% of variable annuity, etc. You say, great, and then they put how much they have in safe. And then you say, okay, now do me a favor and take your time and total up what you have in risk and write it down below by the desired, and total up what you have in safe and write it down by the desired. So in this case, it comes up where they have 75% of their actual assets at risk, and they have 25% of their actual assets at safe. And the main thing to remember is you don't comment at this point. You let them look at this, and they will start to say things. They'll start wondering. They'll start asking questions. And what you want to do at this point is you want to keep the dialogue very simple, because they have way too much money based on how much they're saying they want to risk, and they don't have enough money safe. So at this point, if they haven't said anything, which almost all of them will say something, you ask, what do you think about this? And they'll typically say something like, oh my gosh, got to make some changes. I didn't know I was this risky. But what you want them to say is, I'm out of balance, or it doesn't seem like things are the way they should. And then at that point, you want to say, I agree, you're out of balance. And then at that point, you say, which one of your assets do you think you should start to reposition? Let's set up a follow appointment. I need your asset statements, and I'll then make proper recommendations based on that. So do you agree that the plan is to put your assets in balance? Because right now, based on your exercise, based on the data that you've written down, you are out of balance, I agree. So do you agree that your plan is to put your assets in balance? At that point, they're going to say yes, and you'll have them as a client for life because you showed them something they didn't know, and you gave them a plan of action, and you did not try to sell them anything in that appointment. How about the fast start to $1 million? I think this is a great thing for QS2 associates because we get to see what do we have to do to save money. Well, the quicker you start, the faster you go. As you're saying, Bolt, just bolting right out of the starting blocks. He's winning. The QS2 $1 million fast start calculates how much an individual has to save every month based on when savings start to accumulate that $1 million. And just like a sprinter, the quicker you start, the faster you're going to go. What this means is the sooner you start saving money, the better the result's going to be for you and your family. So let's look at then the benefits of immediate and constant action. If you start at age 25, you're young. You start saving $322, and let's say you get an 8% average rate of return. At age 65, after 40 years, you'll have $1 million. It's that simple. But if you wait till age 30, you got to pump your savings up to 44 at 8%. Now you save for 35 years, but you have $1 million. At age 35, you got to more than double your original $322. You got to save $736 per month at 8%. At age 65, 30 years later, you got $1 million. At age 40, you have to almost quadruple. You got to go up to $1,140 per month savings at 8% for 25 years, and you have $1 million. At age 45, you got to go up to $1,821 per month. At age 50, $3,069 per month. At age 55, $5,752 per month. And at age 60, a whopping $14,204, not per year, but per month at 8% for 5 years to make sure you have $1 million. So what this is saying is, no matter what age you are now, start saving as soon as you possibly can, because the quicker you start, the better your results are going to be. We're going to talk about now a concept that we created called Savings First. And Savings First states no matter what, when you start making money, you save part of that money. So most people have a savings plan that basically uses the money that is left over at the end of the month as the amount that's available for savings each month. Well, right now, ask yourself about yourself and ask yourself about your friends and people you get in front of. How many people really have a lot of money left over at the end of the month? Not very many. So if there is no money left over at the end of each month, how much money will you have saved 20 years from now? Pretty much zero. So we believe in our platform called Savings First, which recommends all QS2 associates and clients put money into savings before they use any of their monthly earnings for anything else. Here's how it works. The Savings First concept is not new or groundbreaking, but the results are definitely eye-opening. if you make $50,000 each year and you save 10% or $5,000 and you get an 8% rate of return, 20 years later, you're going to have an account worth $228,000. If you make $75,000, 10% savings is $7,500 every year, 8%. 20 years down the road, you have $343,000. If you make $100,000, 10% of that would be $10,000 in savings each year, 8% rate, 20 years, you have $458,000. If you make $200,000, it's a great reason to try to make as much money as you can if you start with that 10% savings rate, because $20,000 at 8% for 20 years is almost $1 million bucks. That's $915,000. If you can jump up to that $500,000 club, think about it. You make $500,000, you save 10% of it, $50,000 for at 8% rate for 20 years, you have $2.28 million. And if you can move up to that $1 million earner club per year, just save 10%, just save $100,000, spend the rest of it. Do whatever you want with it. You save 10% per year at 8%, 20 years down the road, you have $4.5 million saved, which can be a tremendous nest egg for your retirement. Make that $1 million, save 10%, $100,000, spend the rest, do whatever you want with it. We have $4.5 million saved at the end of 20 years if you earn an 8% average compounded rate of return. So a tremendous opportunity for you there. We call that savings first. And that is our concepts on how you can communicate, educate, and facilitate, and really how to understand the money game. I'd like to see if we can bring a few people in. First, is Jim Files on the line, and have him comment on this presentation.
Dan, it's really amazing, because math is so simple. And the problem, it's so simple, the math, but, for those of you on the phone, I bet you Dan put this together in about an hour. It'd probably take me 3 days. It'd probably take some people 9 weeks to do this. And Dan, you did a fabulous job graphically illustrating how easy it is for one to generate the type of income they want to upon retirement. And the beauty about all this is that you all on the phone can literally take this presentation, set it in front of a prospect, and walk them through it. And we have some phenomenal products right now that you can implement and show your clients where they can get to these types of goals. So Dan, it was a great job. I'm always so impressed with what you can do, because you take something that's very, very complicated, people that really don't understand this stuff, and you make it so simple, and you do it quickly, because I know how fast you do things. I've been around you for 12 years. I know how fast you do it. So great job.
All right, thank you, Jim. How about Scott? Scott Wells on. I saw his name, but maybe he logged in. You there, Scotty? All right, why don't we go over to Randy? Randy.
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, Scott, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you great, brother. How you doing?
Fantastic, Dan. That was an awesome presentation. I mean, that is powerful. It came from different angles. Sorry about that. I was on mute there for a minute, but on the power of money and the compounding and whatnot. I mean, phenomenal information, Dan. I mean, it makes me realize, although I may have started a little bit late, I have kids and family members that if they start a little bit earlier, they can just make things work in their favor so much better.
Scott, you just said the key, and you got one of the main points is first, see how it can affect you, but more importantly, how can you now share this type of knowledge with other people to help them, right? That's the key. You just
Absolutely, Dan. In fact, that's who we are. When I talk to people each and every day, it's kind of one of those things that we want to be financial literate people, which is kind of contrary to the way we've been brought up. And so just this knowledge is so enlightening, and it's something that you just want to go out and share and help people establish these kind of habits early enough to where it makes a big difference in their life, Dan.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Scott. How about Mike Gunzik, you on, buddy?
Hey, Dan, I'm here.
How's the night?
It's going good. It was a great presentation. You made a lot of points. A couple of that I want to reiterate. I think a really critical thing that a lot of people don't realize is that, when you lose money in the stock market, you lose 50%. You got to earn 100% to make that back. I think that I liked your graphic and showing that, and I think people really don't realize what you have to do to make up your losses. when you have big losses in the market. And another
No,
point,
well,
you
true.
made about another point about the life insurance. Life insurance is a very safe, guaranteed investment. And indexing, if you index with life insurance, you can stop those losses that you have to make up. It takes so much to make up for. But it's a great way to invest for your retirement. And I think a lot of people lose sight of the value of that. I mean, I think you just showed how that works. But not only that part of it, but the life insurance itself has so much value. I mean, the rate of return is guaranteed on that death benefit. So great points, Dan. That was an awesome presentation.
No, thank you. How about Jim Janocchio on? I know he wasn't on the webinar, but is he on the call side? Okay, how about Randy?
Yeah, Dan, I'm here, and I just kind of want to echo what's being said here, though. I mean, really our mission here at QS2 is certainly to help families to make sure that they can become financially secure and independent. And our three-pronged focus of the company is right there on the screen: help people make more money, protect their families, and safeguard their assets. Everything you touched base on today covers these areas because it's so critical that people start doing it now. One of the biggest concepts here at QS2 is that you become a product of the product. And why do we say that? Number one, it's going to help your business. But number two, our crusade is to help people absolutely individually make sure that they are making the right decisions, that they have the proper education to make the right decisions for themselves. So I love that that's what we do. We help our own people, and then they help others.
Thank you, Randy. Great points, exactly. I think you brought right back to home as far as why we do this. I want to find out, is Tony Reyes available? I think he had a meeting earlier, but I want to find out, is he available? Then we'll throw one more shout out to, how about Kelly? Did Kelly make it on this call? All right, that's okay. We will wrap it up, and just want to tell everyone thank you very much for the time. We hope you learned. This will be recorded. We'll be in the back office. We'll put some more disclosures on and make it available to you as far as a great PowerPoint for your training. And it really can, I think, set you apart out there as you're working with a team to make sure they understand these concepts, because these concepts are so powerful. When you look at leveraging, when you look at saving, when you look at being able to tell people this is actually how financial concepts work, you're going to sound like a genius out there. And our goal is to make you sound really, really smart. So all kinds of people are going to want to join your team, and all kinds of people are going to want to buy financial service products from you. Everyone have a great night. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.